okay. It's been a while. It's been a minute, as they say. The angle gives me a big fat head, big fat chin. Frosty the Snowman, right up my nostrils. Yeah, this is just not gonna work. There, better. Why do my eyes look weird? Yeah. So, like, do my irises look like they're betazoid? Super empath here. I can't figure shit out. So it won't let me do the front camera, back camera, or I can't figure it out. And then it tried to make me verify, which I don't know how to do. And then I tried again and it didn't ask me. There we are. So I might just like, what if I go like that? If I go like that, it's hard for me to, because that's what I want to do. I want to do like walk and talk like that. That's what I want to do. Something like this. Nobody's watching anyway. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares. So today I realized that my whole focus for decades now is moot. It's all moot if I don't know how to approach a hot chick and have sex with her. Like everything I do pales in comparison to this failure, this incompetence, this approach anxiety, to put it nicely. And what does that mean? It really seems to mean that I've been living the life of a fraud for decades. And so when I see a hot chick, I am mesmerized. What's the word? I am bamboozled. Agog? Bamboozled isn't right? That denotes like she's tricking me, but that's not honest. But it's like I am overcome with fear and trepidation, shame. Fear of rejection, fear of that look of disgust, that like you are not worthy to have sex with me. And so how I cope is just by never approaching in the first place. Never even trying, and only talking with mids or lower. And the other way of coping is, I guess I got to protect people's privacy these days. Nobody wants to be on camera. The other way of coping is that if I do engage with a hot chick, then it's only platonic. It's only in sort of a courteous, kind, unsexual manner, where I never, initiate or signal a sexual signal of interest. So why is this? Why is this, David? We're going to have a conversation that's been waiting for, let's see, how long? I'm 52, 52 minus 15, 37. 37 years. Past my prime, lost all the vital years, all the years that a man is supposed to do this. And in the past, when I've tried, the pain of being rejected was so excruciating. Like, it was debilitating to such an extent, it became a no-go zone. I realized that it was too painful to go into that sort of wellspring of rejection and disgust and unworthiness and grossness and pervertedness. I think being seen or called a pervert was one of the most painful and shameful things. And I thought, I have to avoid that at all costs. But the frustration and the anger was like, then there's no way to be sexual. Everything sexual is perverted. At least that's how people were using the word pervert to mean the whole spectrum of sexuality, except only, like, let's say, missionary sex after marriage for the purpose of having children. Probably with the lights off. That was the only way to have sex where you weren't going to be called a pervert. Where I wasn't going to be called a pervert. So I'd look at these like hot chicks with these like beautiful boobs and whatnots and bips and bobs and shakes and frills. And it's like it's all forbidden, unallowed, gross, perverted, shameful, sinful, rotten, debased. The one later in life that really became popular, I didn't hear it for the first 30 years of my life, was degenerate. That's basically taken up a lot of the space now. Like, I wouldn't put my face to something. I couldn't say this out loud. You know, what I'm saying now, the only reason I'm saying it now is because I've become no longer a threat. My testosterone's dropped off. I've survived beyond the point of being perceived as a rapist. Like I'm too old now. It's like I knew that trying to explore this in my vital years was the threat. And now that I'm no longer a threat, because I'm older, it's safe to finally explore my almost non-existent libido. And it's such a tragedy. Did I do it to myself? Did society? It's like, to me, it reminds me of psyops. All the people come out of the woodwork and start talking about their conspiracy when it becomes, when it doesn't mean anything, when it becomes safe after the fact. They don't do it when it would have been required. So I can say things now. Like, I'm realizing I am not even worried. I don't know why I'm not worried anymore. Like, has everyone died off? Is it like I've been worried about what all the 70-year-olds are going to think? Because I'm still, like I'm a 20-year-old. All the 50-year-olds are going to put me in jail or something. All the 40-year-olds are not going to approve. It's like they've died off, or I've sufficiently distanced myself from my whole friend group, so I don't have to risk blowing up a friend group over this. Is that why I dissociated from friend groups? Because I knew that I could not address this one issue without being dogpiled over and just absolutely socially assassinated. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if people, I don't know if I should have used that word, but Character assassinated. Yeah, I guess you probably can't say that word. Shit. Well, I hope I'm not flagged for that, but character asinine. Asinine. So it's like preemptively like ruining every social circle because nobody was going to talk about this that I could trust. There's no women that were going to talk to me about this. And I don't trust the men to talk about this because they're fucking clueless. They don't want to talk. The women don't want to talk about this. The men don't want to talk about this. So I've outlived them all. I survived long enough to finally have the conversation, and now it doesn't matter, and it's too late. Zero libido, just gone. That drive is just screwed the pooch. Now I can say, at least I'm talking about it now versus never talking about it. Right? But yeah, so I'm noticing when I'm talking about it that I'm not, like, there's a lot of self-censoring, I think. Like, too afraid to even say certain shameful desires, or not allowed to say the word boob or pussy or anything. And like, I'm like, the circles I knew, they would be like, ooh, that's not you, Dave. Why are you using those horrible words? Why are you even thinking that? You know, the whole get your mind out of the gutter. And now, you know, like, I'm surrounding myself again with, you know, these religious types pulling the same shit again. Attacking lust, 7 deadly sins shit. Back in the circles of people that don't even want to talk about lust in the right ways or explore it appropriately. So what was I going to say? I was going to say something. It was too painful to talk about my sexual desires for like multiple, like, one night stands, orgies, you name it. Non-committal, desiring every, you know, satisfying every desire, every fantasy. And so the fantasy life had to go underground. And the whole, like, my whole sexuality was required to sexually split off, to never have anyone, any human being ever see it. Like, I was gonna, like, the mission was to hide porn usage, fantasies. That the image presented to the world shall never meet the internal, real world, authentic David. All has to be in secret. My friends, family will not accept me if we talk about what I'm up to behind closed doors. And the young teenager of Dave did not understand why society was like, why people were like this. I did not understand what was wrong with human beings, that nobody wanted to explore it, admit to it, talk about it, express it. Everything about this was forbidden. And I knew it. I didn't, it's almost like sometimes it was explicit. It was said. It was explicitly said. And sometimes it wasn't. And the shame of it was so gargantuan, such an ocean full of shame. And the whole necessity of keeping it secret and hiding it sufficiently from everyone, and then feeling, oh, they're going to see it in my eyes, the shame, they're going to know what I was just up to. And so when I would try to work this out, or have a cathartic process with the idea of the truth will set you free. Just get honest with another person. Reveal like the deepest shames, the deepest motivations. It never made it better, ever. It never worked. It did nothing. It probably did worse than nothing. I would end up feeling worse after confessing. And I remember the first time where I noticed that it's like I was really in this weird shackles of perception when I would watch Joe Rogan, and the way he would so easily talk about jerking off to porn with his guests, and they would just banter back and forth in a normalizing way. So much so that I almost didn't even notice until like after the fact. I was like, oh, hold on a sec. They were just like talking about it, something that, has always been impossibly shameful for anybody publicly to talk about. And they just shared it like it was the most normal thing. They're just joking about it. And and in that moment, I thought my whole battle is wrong. My whole framing is wrong. Like my whole, how would you put it? Like the structure of the problem, the prediction model, the, compulsion attack point, like attacking the compulsivities. Or I just tried another dumb YouTube channel today because, the title was alluring enough, claiming behind lust is cowardice. So like there's just so many people, AI slop, whatever, thinkers, philosophers, they think they've got a handle on this. They're gonna explain to you the psychological way to work this out. And I'm like, I almost didn't click on the channel because I'm like, it's going to be another nincompoop. And sure enough, it was Dostoevsky and this great writer, and this is his views, and blah, blah, blah. And I just end up getting angrier and angrier. I'm like another false prophet that I cannot have this conversation with. And so I guess, and this was years ago when I first it dawned on me that I'm just in this super bubble of viewing the whole thing off, where Joe Rogan's just playfully going back and forth with his guests about porn, jerking off, masturbating, one night stands. That my whole struggle that I kept failing at was all wrong to start with. Like the battle wasn't even meant to be fought. But that didn't necessarily help me. Because then it was like, well, first of all, it's like, wow, I've like fucking wasted my life on a wild goose chase. Like, for example, I just walked by a lovely couple, right? They might even be older than me. And you're not going to have these conversations, right? It's weird. It's perverted. It's gross. It's uncouth. It's unceremonious. It's boorish. One of the reasons people liked Donald Trump, because he was like, it's locker room talk. And I like that too. That really spoke to me. It's like a great way to put it. So yeah, I saw, this was years ago when I first saw it on Joe Rogan, and I sort of was in horror at how far away I was from getting close to where Joe Rogan was at with it. So I had this we call them prompts. That's what I call them. I call them prompts. Years ago. And it told me, it said, and this was the sentence it told me, it said, it's just a silly little stigma. That was the sentence on repeat over and over in my head. And I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what it meant. So here the voice of God is giving me a hint. And a lot of times the reason we need that voice of God is because we're not going to come up with these words on our own. So a part of the issue is, but because I wasn't ready, that's why I didn't come up with it, that I needed the voice of God. So even though the voice of God was giving me the hint, I couldn't comprehend it anyway, because I wasn't able to, which was the whole problem. So I'm going around years ago, God help me, or whatever. Like, what's the issue? I get this answer in a repeating mantra, and I couldn't understand it. I didn't know what the fuck it was saying. I could not, even now, to grasp what it meant. And, and the problem is, all these words, they've got different meanings. And then you can get the dictionary and pretend that's definitive. You just read out a dictionary definition. But that's not ever the true meaning of words. Silly little stigma. So here, I think, so I went to stigmata. I went to the stigmata of Jesus on the cross, I think. And it's weird because I knew what stigma meant, but I didn't know what this prompt meant. But here is how I would hear it now. It meant a silly little social stigma. That was not what the prompt said. It said a silly little stigma. But looking at it with eyes and ears of 20 years after the fact, I think what it was saying was social stigma, in that God was trying to gently tell me that society had built up a silly taboo. It's just, and God was trying to be so gentle and loving and caring towards me, to be my beautiful child of God, David, you are beseeching and with desperation for help with this issue. And it was he was trying to reach that the framing was all wrong. It wasn't about being pure, being abstinent, semen retention. I'm watching these guys currently. Brock Marshall, semen retention, holding your seed, no FAP, no porn, all this stuff, which to me is just white knuckling. And anybody that says they had no trouble, I don't believe them. And if they did, they are not relevant to my experience of life. So let's just grant that maybe these weirdos exist. They're not relevant, and I don't think they're relevant for 95% of men. They're like weirdos, asexual weirdos that have no problem with this shit. Maybe they're androgynous. Maybe those are like the true trannies. But all that being said, the framing was all wrong. It wasn't about indulgence or not indulgence. It wasn't about commitment or casual. It wasn't about religious or secular. And what's come up now is, degenerate or holy. These are all, like, anybody using the word degenerate, they're probably leading a degenerate life. Like, I just don't see anybody who's going around using that word so, freely as living any other way except in a degenerate manner, whatever that means. And they cope by pointing at others, making judgments, and it's all this like purity spiraling. So here is my authentic take on the issue. I think the silly little stigma is that people are afraid, like men are afraid to be rejected. Who knows what women are afraid? Women seem, whatever. I'm not even going to speak for women. I guess they're afraid of being raped, but I don't know, how much of that's really the issue these days. But so men are afraid of being rejected. And men are afraid of being vulnerable, of having their heart broken. Yeah, I don't think I can speak for women. I think they have their own gods, their own religions. Maybe they do their astrology, goddess. I have no clue how they're supposed to. So we'll just speak for men. Or for me, being male. There's the fear of rejection, and there's a fear of being vulnerable and getting hurt. And there's the insane power of jealousy and the almost fundamentally need to have some type of ownership over the woman you're with. To me, that is, at least it was my hypothesis of jealousy seems to come from this unconscious. It's such an unconscious root of needing to own the woman you're with. I don't know how else to put it. And that if she's with somebody else, you're losing ownership and it drives you insane. So that's potentially the theory on why the silly little stigma. And for people like my brother or my sister or my mother or my father, the reason why I can't have these conversations is because none of them are able or are willing to actually confront the vulnerability, fear of rejection, jealousy, all mixed in with societal obligations and harms. So we're going to call that my first attempt. We're going to call that my first attempt figuring this YouTube, and I don't even know if any of this is going to work.